Take a look at this big old bull. He's a big, massive beast. And this guy weighs, I'd say probably, whoa, he's gonna eat my camera. He probably weighs over 2,000 pounds. He's a monster. And my bulls are pretty friendly. You just don't want to mess with them too much. And I actually have another big old bull over here. My growing Black Angus, Aberdeen Black Angus cattle. And look at this big old bull. He is massive too. So the other one, his name is Anubis, and this one is a little more friendly. His name's T-Bone. He's an awesome animal. So some people ask me, actually I had a comment on one of my last videos, and someone commented and they said, so why do you have two bulls? One of them is enough to breed the herd here, and really, if you had two bulls, his comment was, well, it's kind of a waste of money because you're burning hay, and I kind of understand the logic behind that. Now I would say most cattle operations, I have 12 head of cows here, so it's 12 head of cattle. I have cows and calves and bulls and heifers and first calf heifers and et cetera, but I've quite a few head of cattle here. And I thought in this video I'd kind of explain why I'm keeping two bulls instead of just one. And I always thought, if I could pick a name for myself, like a Native American name, a Native American Indians that were here in the United States before, they originally basically inhabited the land here. And I don't really know a whole lot about their culture, and the last thing I want to do is offend them. And I'm not sure if I could exactly pick a name for myself, but I always thought if I could pick a name for myself, it would be Two Bulls Fighting. Because you don't need two bulls, and you don't really need them fighting all the time. So in this video, I want to kind of explain why I have two bulls. Okay, I'd say, so the number one reason that I kind of started with two bulls is, if you look at my herd almost exactly mirrors what you would see in a wild elk herd. So if you see a herd of elk roaming up on your land, kind of in this kind of country up here in the mountains of Colorado at 9,000 feet, we have a lot of elk, and there's always two bull elk, and then there's a few females and a lot of calves. And I always thought it would kind of mirror the natural way of things, and kind of there's always kind of the conflict between the bulls, and they're fighting over the females to mate. And I think it really helps to establish kind of their natural environment as far as a grazing animal in the wild. Okay, so I got a bull coming after me. He's friendly though, yeah. You always got to keep your distance from these guys because they have immense power. But I'd say the number two reason that I have two bulls is that if something happens to one bull, my cattle operation here is shut down. And say, for example, if one happened to be sterile for some reason and you didn't realize it, and the next year you would have 0 calves. And I've actually had some ranchers come up and wanting to buy one of these bulls. I almost actually sold one at one point. And there's a thing up here in the mountains, it's called brisket disease, and it's basically only with cattle, only at high altitude, and it's where the heart swells up and starts leaking into the chest cavity, and the brisket basically fills up with fluid, and then the animal dies. And it's genetic, so basically if one of my bulls had brisket disease, it could transfer through some of the animals that were related to him. And there's actually a test you can do, but it's pretty invasive. They have to put a probe into the heart, which I don't really feel comfortable doing. And then recently I had a disease kind of run through the herd. If you've kind of been watching my channel, I had some really bloody, explosive diarrhea. I didn't really catch it on film because it was pretty bad. But I mean, these cows, they were squirting so bad, it would squirt out like probably 3 feet. And then, in addition to that, they were coughing, and when they would cough with that diarrhea, it would shoot out like 20 feet all the way across the yard. It was awful, and they were all covered with manure, and I was out here with the hose. And I finally treated them with the oxytetracycline and the drinking water, and we are on the recovery. All the cows are feeling better. A few more days of treatment, and that'll be over. Okay, so the third reason that I have 2 bulls is for diversified genetics. So a lot of people, they'll breed one bull year after year after year after year, and then get down the road, and pretty soon your whole herd is interrelated, and you got moms breeding to sons, and so on and so forth. And when I first started my cattle operation, I actually got every single one of these cows from a different place, and I wanted as much genetic diversity as possible. So as the herd grows, it kind of spreads out the genetics, and it's not so focused just on one particular lineage. And I think it kind of makes for a stronger herd if you have kind of a mixed up genetics. Okay, the fourth and final reason that I have 2 Aberdeen Black Angus bulls, and that is for the adventure. And sometimes it's not always about the money. It's about the adventure. And I really enjoy having a couple really large, massive beasts, and it makes for some good YouTube videos too. And I think that's really why I keep them. The size difference between the bulls and the cows is really incredible. Even though they do burn a lot of hay. If you think about hay burners, if you're, say for example, if you're a goat farmer, right, and your goat, say you have goats that weigh 100 pounds, well, one of these bulls at 2,000 pounds, I'd say probably over 2,000 pounds, eats probably as much as 20 goats. And then you add 2 of them into the mix. And as a matter of fact, some people don't even have bulls. They actually, what they do is artificial insemination, because some people say it's too expensive to even keep one bull because of the loss of okay, hay. So those are some of the reasons that I have 2 bulls. And I guess you could say there's another reason that originally got me into cattle, especially Black Angus. And that is, I know I'm kind of speaking to a nationwide audience, but in America, Black Angus are considered one of our major food sources. And I actually got into cattle because of that. And now that you're working with the cattle, I couldn't even imagine eating one of my cows. They're just such magnificent beasts. But you figure, you know, with one of these bulls here, 2,000 pound bull, you get about, 65% of the weight of the animal in an edible product. So you're looking at, just from one animal, like 1,200 pounds of food in an emergency crisis situation. And I haven't really got to that point yet. And so I would say that I am somewhat of a survivalist. I have, quite a bit of food storage. I kind of follow some of the stuff online with the dry goods, the rice and the beans and the grain, and vacuum sealing them in jars. And I try to have at least 6 months food for a couple people. And up here in the mountains, it's kind of tricky because we've actually had snowstorms with snow 6 feet tall, and you're snowed in for over a month and you can't get out. And you start thinking about situations like, being stranded for a month up here in the mountains, and it's almost out of necessity that a lot of people living in the mountains are kind of preppers, I guess you would say, kind of preparing for extreme circumstances. And, you know, if something happened to where, you know, a bunch of people came in and I needed to feed a lot of people, even a small herd like this, most of these cattle are gaining like 100 pounds a month in weight. So I mean, not only is this food storage for an immediate need, but it could also be a long-term a source of food for a lot of people in an extreme emergency situation. As long as I had enough hay. You can come in an emergency, but you need to bring your own hay because I can convert it to beef. So that's pretty much it for my cattle and why I keep 2 bulls and why I keep the herd in general. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.